Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. Um, Today's agenda is to cover like another list methods or functions. There are many list methods, but we are going to learn the methods which are documented here. And we do it at last. I'm just going to tell you the difference between delete, that is del, and then versus remove. And this is an interesting fact, and we'll just go through it. So let us get started with today's session. And then the first method here is actually length. We have used this multiple times. Let me uh, write a program here, Python file, and here I'm just giving like a list or list function, then len. Len is actually for sequence. It is not specifically for the list. You can get the length of a string, you can get the length of a tuple, you can get the length of a list, you can get the length of a dictionary, you can get the length of a set, anything you can actually do. So this is len method is actually not specific to the list, but let us go through this example, like to understand how it is working. Let's say I have a list, and my list I'm having like an alphabet, say, then B here, and then I do have like a couple of other elements too. That's DD, and then I have some 10, 20. One moment, 10, then 20. Then I have true. Like it contains like some strings, numbers. I mean, in this case, only integers, 10 and 20, and then true. Now, if I say like now print L1, it is going to print the length. Sorry, going to print the elements of the list. So here you can see that. And if you want the length of this particular list, you can actually specify here len. Len stands for length, and you should actually enclose it, the list in the list name in the around brackets, because that's the parameter to the length method or length function. So now if I'm running this program, here you can see it is saying like another 6 elements. Even if it is a boolean, it is going to count. Let's say for example, if I'm having like true here, sorry, not true, it is none here, none is data type, right? So in this case also it is going to like treat none as an element, so it should actually return as 7. But should return as 7. Now here you see, okay. So this is the simple example of length, okay. Now I'm just going to tell you one more thing, that how do we take the input in the runtime. Let's say my requirement is I want to take list as input, list input. Okay, now look at here. This is an interesting example. We'll understand like how to deal with list, and a list example over here. Let's say L1 equals to, I'm just giving like an input of, if I'm specifying enter a list, enter a list. Okay, now here we go, and I'm just giving like no print L1. Running the program, and I'm just giving like now 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. To us it is looking like this is a list, but this is not a list. Why I'm telling like no, this is not a list? You can definitely check the type. If you do type, always remember, when you are actually using input, it is going to return as string, okay, because input is always string. If it is 1, it is a string. If it is 10, it is a string. If it is 10.5, it is a string. If it is like abcd, it is also a string. If I'm passing 1 2 3 4 in square bracket and separated by comma, that is also a string. Okay, so now here it is actually going to return as actually a string. Let's say if I'm giving like 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4, here it is saying like no, class is actually str. It is not a list. The question is, if I'm actually going to cast it as actually, maybe I can cast it on the fly using the list. Okay, let us try that out. List of this. In this case, it is interesting one. Never ever do this, because if we are giving like this, then what is going to happen? It will treat The first element is an open square bracket, second element is 1, third element is actually comma, fourth element is 2, fifth element is comma again, and likewise it is going to work. Okay. So now if I'm running this program, let me run this program again and then tell you how do we do it here. Okay. Now see here. As I explained, when we are actually passing the list, in this case, what is happening here? It is actually treating everything as element, including each character is an element. Okay, so this is not a list. Then you can actually ask, then how do we pass a list as input? Because that is my real-time requirement. How do we do it? Don't we have like in any other like an approach or any options available in Python? We do have options available. So do not use like a list directly over here. What you need to do here is you need to execute like an eval. Eval stands for evaluate. Like evaluate the expression. Now let us see what is going to happen here. If I'm giving like a eval here, here you can see enter a list. I'm just giving like 1, 2, 3, 4. It is saying 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is a list. Remember, this is the key method. Eval. Eval is going to evaluate. Do not cast it. If you're going to cast it, it is not going to work. So whenever your requirement is to take input as a list, then you can actually use a eval function here. Let's say, for example, eval is not only for list. Eval is not at all related to list methods only, because eval is a functionality of the Python which is going to evaluate the expression. Let's say, for example, I'm having a result. Okay, result equals to input of enter, let's say expr, that is expression. Okay, expr stands for expression. Enter expression. Now if I'm running this program, now look at here. If I'm entering a list, it is giving me a list. Entering expression 12 plus 32, it is going to print 12 plus 32. Let us see what is going to happen here. I'm just giving like give me the result of give me the result. I did not actually use a print statement here, and it is not going to work. I'll just have a print statement here, like print of result. Now if I'm running this program, look at here. Okay, so now if I'm running this program with 12 plus 32, now the result is actually 12 plus 32. It is not going to sum it because it is treating as string. If a requirement is okay, I need an input like this. Okay, and I need to evaluate it. The same expression, I'm just going to evaluate it. Okay, now I'm just giving pass the input as 12 plus 32 and see what is the output, and pass the input, sorry, pass the input as Control C to copy, and pass the input as 12 to 32, and it is actually going to print the output as this. Okay, in this first case the output will be 12 plus 32. But in this case, when we are actually using eval, the result will be, output here will be 12 plus 32 is 44. 44. Okay. So now if I'm running this program and passing a list, sorry, it's not a list. Okay, I'm just cancelling it, stopping it, and running it again because it was supposed to be list at the first attempt. Okay, so now I'm just giving here the list as 1, 2, 3, and it is saying class int, sorry, class list. Then expr, I'm just giving 12 plus 32. It is giving 12 plus 32. If I enter the 12 plus 32 again, here you can see it is manipulating the expression. If you are giving, what if your expression is actually a two strings? Let's say, for example, this first the input as I'm just giving Subhasis and plus Samantha. Okay, Subhasis Sam. Okay, and then here I can actually just give like now Subhasam. Now output here will be, if I'm giving here, it will be Subhasam because it will be a concatenation. So now if I'm running this program, okay, and then giving here the like input as let's say 12 and 13, there's a list, and then second one I'm just giving 11 plus 22, then it is actually giving 11 plus 22, same 11 plus 22 with eval is going to give me 33, and then if I'm giving Subha plus Shem, it is going to give me Shubha. Here you can see Shubha is not defined. Okay, I see, I got it. So what is happening here is like, it is actually thinking the Shubha is a variable and Sam is a variable. So that is the reason why it is not working. Okay, so it may not work. So that's fine. So we need to cast it and then do it. So it should actually work. So don't try this one. If you're doing this, you may see name error because it is trying to add Shubha and Sam. Okay, I can actually do that. I can give a meaningful example, so don't worry about it. So now here I'm just giving, let's say, I'm just giving A equals to or val equals to val1 equals to Shubha, and then it is a string. I'm just giving like this, and val2 equals to Sam. Okay, so now here if I'm giving like now the input is val1 plus val2, and I'll just again tell you like without this, without variables, how to pass the input and get the result. I'm just going to tell you that. So now if I'm running this program, right? So now here I'm just giving a list 11 or 111 222, and it is a list. Then here I'm just giving 11 plus 11, it is going to give you 11 plus 11. If I'm giving 1 plus 1, it is going to give me 2. If I'm giving val1 plus val2, in this case you just see sugar sim. Okay, so the variables are defined here. If you can ask me, okay, I don't want this, like I want like in the runtime, I just want to pass two values and then get it. Like now I'm just putting session, like now I'll just give you an example here. So straightforward here. Okay, so now if your requirement is to add sugar or concatenate Sam, you have to enclose it in because it's a string, it has to be quoted. Because evaluation, if you're giving like no without string, sorry, without quotes, it is going to treat Shubha is a variable, Sam is a variable. But in this case, explicitly we're telling system, hey, Shubha is just string one, Sam is string two. That there is a plus sign, that is for concatenation. Give me the result. So the output will be like no Shubha Sam. So that's the reason why we got the error in the first attempt. It was saying like name error. Okay, so either you can actually do this way, val1 plus 2, val2. In this case, it is actually going to return as Shubhasam, Shubhasam. Okay, so this is how we can actually deal with the evaluation basically. Now, what is next? Next is let us get familiar with the list function. Like I am having a L1 as in like 1 comma 2 comma 3, and L2 equals to ABC, or I can directly give A and B. That's it. Okay, A and B. Okay. Now my requirement is to print L1 plus L2, L1 plus L2. Okay. Now in this case, if you are running this program, I'm having this, it is actually extending like this, right? So now let us do one thing, print, sorry, input, that's L3 equals to eval of input of enter to lists, enter to list. Okay, so now I can actually take enter to lists, and then it is going to list and to list with a concatenation operator. Okay, with concat concat operator. Okay, concat operator is nothing but plus. Now if I'm giving print of L3, let us see like now what is going to happen here. Okay, Now I'm running this program, and the first one you got this. Then the second one, what I'm trying to do is I'm just given like list this one plus I have another list here giving 12, 13, and Subbu. This is also possible. It is actually doing a concatenation of the list. Eval is powerful, okay? So I can give you 10 or 20 different examples, but the core thing is you should understand one line information you should always remember is eval is for evaluation. And we do have eval, if you're coming from Linux and Unix background, we do have eval in bash. Eval is used for extra cycle of evaluation or indirect reference. In bash terminology, eval is used for indirect reference. Let's say A equals to B equals to 10. Using A, you should get 10. You can actually use a evaluation over there. Similar concept here, but here the Python eval is actually more powerful. It will evaluate the expression. It's not for indirect reference. It is used for evaluating the expression 10, 20. The expression is numeric. So in that case, it is going to add, let's say Shubhu Shan. In that case, Subbu is a string, Sam is a string. The expression is going to concatenate. Let's say list one, list two. There is a sign between plus. It is not going to add. It is going to concatenate the list. It is not like the two lists. We can have like the three lists or n number of lists. For example, if I'm running this program, if I'm running this program, here you see if I'm giving this, right, and then I'm just giving this one again and giving this one again, three lists. You can see it's just the concatenation. The concept you need to understand, eval for evaluation of any expression. In real time, if you understand this, eval is just making your life easy. Like during the input, just evaluate, that's it. Then so that's how like now we deal with the list input, okay, and we do deal with the evaluation. Now I'm just going to tell you the next method. It is known as list method or list function. That is list again. This is a quite interesting method. Let's say I have message equals to our favorite message here is like now world is open source. World is open source. Okay. Now look at here. Now here I'm just giving list one equals to list of message. Now print L1. Let us see like now what it is going to do. If I'm running this, just look at the element. World is open source. This is actually giving us elements. They are like now each character is an element. Like W, if you look at, is the first element. Similarly, the last one is actually exclamation. Here we do have like an exclamation elements. If you want like what is the length of the string? You can definitely use like an alien of the string or alien of the list also. Like anything is fine. Here you can see length of L1 is actually 23, followed by if you want like the length of the message, what is the length of this message? It is also 23, 23. Now here you can see here we do have like the 23 characters. When we are passing this particular string like message here which is having 23 characters, and message is a argument to the list over here. Like list is a method or list. Guys, remember list is a constructor, okay? Because Python is a object oriented programming language. So list is a constructor here, and when you are actually calling the constructor, okay, and then passing the method like here, sorry, passing the argument as message here, you are actually getting the 23 elements. Those are nothing but the 23 characters of this message. Okay, so this is one use case of list. Then the second use case of list is, let's say you are having a tuple. I have a tuple one equals to 100, 200, and 300, for example. Okay, I'm having 100, 200, and 300. And whenever you want to convert the tuple to a list, simply what we can actually do is we can actually do a list of, and then here you can see tuple. Let's say tup1 or T1, I believe, yeah. List of T1, and then directly print L2. Here you go, and here you can see like 100, 200, and 300 is a list. So whenever you want to actually do a casting, you can do that. Whenever you want to actually process a string or convert a string to a particular list, then you can also use the list method. Okay, so this is all about this is all about how do you cast it and using the list method basically. And there is another use case of list is, let's say for example, I am having a list of L3 and which is an empty list. I can actually define an empty list like this. In here I can see like print L3, you can see a empty list. You can see a empty list here. You are running this, right? Here you can see empty list. And if if you want to do like now using a list method, you can also do like this, like print L4. You can see this is an empty list too. L4 is empty list too. There is a difference between L3 hard-coded like now approach and using a list method and or list constructor. I'll just tell you in details like now in the upcoming examples. So now these are the use cases of the list method. So we are familiar with length, we are familiar with table, we can deal with like now input, then we are familiar with like now list. The next one is I'm just going to tell you what are the operations basically we do on a list. We can define a list, empty list. We can keep on adding the elements or appending the elements, insert the elements at any given position, delete the elements from the wherever we want. We can reverse the list. We can actually do a sorting in the reverse order, or sorting in the ascending order, descending order, and then we can search for elements in a list. So like that is like kind identifying like the position where exactly the first element is actually matching element is present, and the count of like particular pattern or particular element in a list. We can actually do that. It's not a pattern, it's a particular element in a list. Okay, so now let me proceed further, and then the first one I'm just going to tell you is list append. List append operator, okay, or append method. So now let's say I'm having a list one, and here I'm just giving like 11, 12, 12, and 13. This is my list. Now I'm just giving like L1 dot append, and here I'm just appending, let's say for example 14 I'm appending. Then L1 dot append, here I'm just giving like no 15, 15 here. Now print L1. If I'm running this program, you can see the list has been appended with 14 and 15. If you want to see the difference, let's say you have defined L1 and then appending and then keep on adding, and then here you can see this is like 11, 12, 13, then 11, 12, 13, and 14, then 15 was actually added. So this is like, if you can see append, the concept of append, the English meaning of append is like appending at the last. So here also the same thing. If we're talking about append, appending something to a file, that is after the last line. Appending elements to a list, it is at the last. Let's say I have a element something like this. Let's say L2, sorry, I have a list like this. L2 is this, and then I'm just saying L2 dot append, L2 dot append A or AA, okay, and then print L2. Print L2. Let us see like now what is going to happen here. Now here you can see it is also appended. Okay, so now if you want to append, like let's say you have defined L3 equals to list, and we are not defining anything here, and then I'm just giving L3 dot append. Here, if you want to give like, India and then USA, and then here you can give like UK, you'll definitely get error. This is not allowed. We cannot actually specify three elements. We cannot specify three elements like India, US, and UK. We cannot actually pass it to L3. Like we'll see, like what is the error message, and we'll experience it, and then I'll just explain like how to deal with this kind of situation. Let's say you are having multiple values, then how do you pass it? Okay. So now I'm just going to tell you. Look at here. This is the error message. What it is saying? List.append takes exactly one argument. Three are actually given. It is not possible. We'll experience, and we have experienced the error. In this case, what you can do is you can actually put it in double moon bracket. It's not the syntax. It's just the core concept. The concept is we are appending a tuple, like a tuple of elements. Here you can see India, US, and UK is nothing but a tuple. Okay, this is a tuple. In this tuple, what we are actually doing is we are adding this tuple as a list element. So let us see like now how it is actually going to add it to the list. Now if I'm running this program, here you can see it is actually adding as a tuple. If your requirement is no, I don't want actual tuple, I want to actually add single element. So in that case, we need to actually do it using multiple append. Okay, that is not at all possible here. So you can actually ask me what is going to happen if I'm actually putting it in square bracket. Then it will be nested list. Okay, the it will be like the element 0 in the list 3. If I'm running this program, here you can see India, US, and UK. You can actually do like this. Okay, so this is how it is possible. But if you want like now each element to be added separately, we need actually list comprehension, or we can actually do it using like a for loop explicitly. Okay, or any kind of loop. You can actually create multiple elements and then iterate it and append it. Okay, that is also possible. Let's say I have a list 4 which is initialized, list 4 which is initialized as this like list is empty list, and I'm just giving like for country name in, I'm just giving the values here. Either it could be tuple, it could be it could be a list as well. Anything is fine. So here what I can do is I can say L4 dot append. This is a shorthand for. This shorthand for means in one line we are defining the loop and as well as the executable statement. Like here I can say like CN. Okay, this is something what I can do, and I can specify here print. If I'm specifying like print L4, and here you can see Control Shift F10. Here you can see it is actually adding each as element. So this is what I have actually told you. Like this is what we can actually do. Okay, so this is all about like how we can add multiple elements to a list using a loop, and there are better ways, and as we go further you can actually use optimized ways to deal with this kind of situations. As a beginner, this is actually more than enough to understand what is the use case of a list. Okay, so that's all about use case of a list method and the append method. Okay, so if you are actually iterating, let's say for example, you are actually making a API call. In the API call, you have got like somewhere around 100 elements or 100 TNs, and that 100 TNs you need to actually append it to a list. Append is the solution over here. Append method, you should be familiar with append method. Okay, we can actually append it. If you are getting a list as result, let's say for example from JSON, you are getting a JSON array, and then that is like an array of elements, and then you want to actually append that as is to a list. That is also possible. You can use using the append. Those are the examples that I have given you here. So that's all about like an append. Append at the append always appends the element at the last. Now there is one more method which is known as extend. The extent is actually very straightforward, and it is powerful too. Let's say list function. Here I'm just giving extend, I'm just going to use the same list, okay, and then what I can do here is I can actually do here is L2, let's say here L2 equals to, I'm just giving 10, 20, 30. If I'm giving L3 equals to L3 equals to L1 dot append of L2. Let us say like now what is there in L3, print L3, print L3. Okay. Now if I'm running this program, here you can see it is actually okay, L1 dot append, okay, L1 dot append L3 because it doesn't return like this. Okay, let me do, because it returns none, it will be actually appending to the particular list. So that was actually the wrong syntax. So if I'm actually running here, like, L1 dot append L2 and then print L1. Now if I'm running this program, here you can see it has added as a single element. Like L2 is a single element over here. But if I'm having like, another two lists over here, like, let's, for example, I'm just giving L4 and L5, list 4 and list 5. And then here I'm just giving L4 dot extend. The append and extend, there is a huge difference. Let me tell you like now how to do that, and we'll just do the same last example whatever we have done using a loop, and we can actually achieve that using extend. Okay, so now if I'm giving print of L4, print of L4, here you see L4 was actually 11, 12 and 13, L5 is 10, 12 and sorry 10, 20 and 30, and when you are actually using L4 that extend L5, the result will be like one list which will be containing 11, 12, 13 followed by 10, 20 and 30. And but in this case it is having like four elements, but in case of extend it will become six elements. Okay, now if I'm running this program, here you can see the difference between append and extend. And now let's say a previous example, the previous example we have done this L6 equals to list, and our requirement was to extend the list or append the country names to the list, and this is the solution here. Like now we have actually used this, right? And when we are actually doing append, it is adding the list as is. But if I'm giving like L6 dot extend then followed by this, what it is going to do is it is going to extend the list. L6 will be having three elements: India, US and UK. Now if I do print L6, there are still even better ways than this to handle this kind of situation, but for now it is fine. So this is the difference between append and extend. So you are familiar with like how we can actually append the elements, append a tuple, append a list, append elements of a list. All these things you can actually do. You can iterate using a for loop and then append the elements to a given list. That is also possible. Okay, so this is how the extend and append works. Now moving to the next one. The next one is you may be actually having a question like, is it like we can always add at the end, like because append is also appending at the end position, extend is also extending the list, and the elements are actually getting added at the last. So is there any way that we can actually append it, sorry, insert it anywhere? Yes, we do have ways. Like what we can actually do is we can definitely insert the elements using the insert method. And insert, you can definitely specify like the position. Let's say for example I'm having country names is India, US and UK, and here I'm just giving cn dot insert. I can insert at any position, any given position. And if you want to actually understand, let's say for example you don't know what is the syntax of this, then you can see like it is supporting at which position you want to actually add, whether it is actually at position number 0, okay, index followed by I want to actually add, let's say for example Australia. Let us see like what is going to happen here. Okay, and before we do that, we can actually print the cn, and then again after the insert operation we can actually go ahead, print it again and then see what is going to happen here. Now here you can see Australia is actually added at the uh, beginning. If your requirement is okay, I don't actually add here, but I want to add is actually at the position number 2, I want to actually add New Zealand. Can I do that? Yes, we can definitely do that. If I'm running this program, here you can see it is actually New Zealand actually exactly added at position number 2. If you're mentioning 2, it is like 0, 1 and 2. Mention 0, it is actually added over here. If you want actually add at the end, then how I can actually do that? If you can actually specify, if don't do this actually, because we need to actually at the end means it is append. Okay, if I'm giving like -1 as friends, let us see like now what is going to happen. We do have here like now till this point it was like UK was the last element, but if I'm giving like now -1, it is going to give France then UK. Why? Because you want, currently it is UK at -1 position. You want France at -1 position. That means it will be inserted here and UK will be extended. So if your requirement is now, I want to actually add Dubai at the last, then in that case, you should not use insert. What you need to use here is you should actually use append. Append, and append doesn't need actually any indexing. You can actually give Dubai here and it will be actually added at the last. And uh, don't be confused with insert -1 versus like append. Insert -1 doesn't append at the last. It will be adding just at -1 position. But whenever you're actually doing append, it just starts at the last. So this is how you can actually do the append, extend, insert, and creation of list also. You are actually familiar with like the list method by now. What is next? Next is region. Now here you see, like even in case of when we are actually added France, UK shifted towards right. When we have added Australia at the beginning, right? India shifted towards right. Now here you can see India, US and UK added Australia. Now this has shifted right. Now 0, 1, 2 position. So we wanted New Zealand at position number 2. So now US shifted right. Now we want like France at position -1. So UK will be shifted right. Now we want Dubai at the last. We are actually appending it. So it is always shifting right. Inserting at a given position, it will be shifting that element towards right, not towards left. Okay. So this is how the insert works. So we are familiar with insert, append, extend, and we have gone through like now many examples over here. Let's say I'm having like a the next set of method. Let me tell you here. So we are done with like list, eval, append, insert, and extend. Now we are actually going to focus on remove, sort, and reverse. Okay, remove, sort, and reverse. Remove is like going to remove any element or elements, matching elements from a particular list. List method. I'm just giving list function or method. Remove. Okay, so now let's say I'm having a list of elements. My list is, or I can say L1 equals to, or Cn equals to, or anything is fine. Okay, I'm just giving 10, 20, 30, 40, and look at here. 10, 20, 30, 40. I'm just giving like multiple times. I'm just copy pasting it. So guys, don't stick to like only numbers. Just while practicing it, you can actually give alphabets too. Alphabets, floating points, strings. Try with like various approaches. So now here we go. Ideally, the Python suggests like to put a space, but I'm not using it in this session. Just do one thing. Just stick to like the best practices. Keep a space after the command. So now, if I'm giving like now L1 dot remove of what? I'm just going to remove 10. Now let us see here. Now print. If I'm giving here I'm just giving here L1 and then here you go and just print L1. Now, whenever you want to actually delete anything, it is saying, okay, this is an interesting one. What is happening here? We are trying to, very nice one. There is unknowingly actually we are experiencing this error. 10 is a string here. 10 is a string here. But in the list, we have number, right? Number 10, not string 10. So in this case, guys, remember, remove. If the element is not present, it is going to throw value error. If the element is not present, it is going to throw value error. Remove will throw value error if the element is not present in the given list. So we are going to get this error, okay? So like the correct one, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write one more function. So we are going to get error message over here, okay? So we are going to experience error this. So now how do we fix it? This unknowingly we have actually experienced one error. Let me write one more one. List method. The same one, we'll just do it. List remove. Okay, now here we go. Now in this case, do not put a single quotes. We do have number, and in this case, it is not going to throw any error, and we are going to get the expected result. Like now 10 will be removed. Now of 10. Now here we go. You can see the 10 has been removed. And another thing, it removes the first matching occurrence. It removes the first matching appearance. Okay, so now this is quite interesting. What it does, it removes like the first matching occurrence. So now see here, I've just focused on that particular remove method. Here you can see remove first occurrence of the value. It is going to remove only the first occurrence of the value. Now the question is, if it is removing the first occurrence of the value, then how do I remove the other occurrences? Because I have 10 here, I have 10 here, and I have, let's say for example, I have 10, another 10 here, and then I have one more 10 at the last. It is not going to remove everything. It is going to remove the first occurrence. Now the question is, how many occurrences of 10 is actually present? Okay, and in this case, we should not actually count. I can actually find it out. Let's say print L1 dot count of maybe 10. Okay, now how many times L1 is present, now 10 is present, we can find it here. Okay, so now if I'm running here, running the program, you're saying like 4 times it is present, but it has removed the first one. How do I delete the other four? That is the next question. So let us see how to find out in what are the positions 10 is actually present. Okay, how to identify what are the positions 10 is actually present. So how to do that? We can definitely, there are actually many other ways we can actually do it. But for the time being, just remember like in a shortcut. I'll just let you know like how to deal with this one, okay, at a later point of time. Programmatically we can do, but don't do programmatically. Let's say for example, if you require, do it programmatically for now. And there are actually better ways of like handling this. For now, we are not familiar with like the better ways. So I'm just going to do it programmatically. Now let us look at here, and I'm just going to do this list remove example. Okay, now here we go. This is my list. My requirement is to delete the tens. Now let me find out where all this 10 is present. If you're able to recollect the string method, there was a method like known as index. If I'm giving, look at here, print, if I'm giving print L1 dot index up, I can actually give 10 for the first index. It says here you can see it's the first matching element is actually 10. Let us remove this one for 0. Don't be confused. Let us see here. The first element is actually 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. And it doesn't tell me like the positions are actually here. Then in this case, how do I find it out whether the, let's for example, if I'm giving 100 is not present, it is actually going to give me value error. Okay, it is going to give me value error. It is not present in the list. In string we do have two functions, like index and find. Find doesn't return any error message, but where index returns error. But in list we do not have actual find method. We are having only index method. So now if a requirement is to find out the index, do this way, what we can do, while 10 in, to solve the problem you need to just think about a logic, like how do I do it. If 10 in L1 then what we can actually do is we can do simply say remove L1 dot remove of 10. What I'm doing is, till the time we can see 10 in L1, if it is true, then remove the 10. Now, if I'm running this program, it is going to absolutely work fine. If you want to actually minimize it, simply minimize it using short and while. In the short and while also it is going to work. So this is like in a single line we can actually have the loop and then do like this. Okay, so this is short and while, it is also possible. While 10 in L1 dot remove 10, this is also possible. So now this is how we can actually deal with it, like removing in a loop. So remove the first occurrence of the element. If there is a requirement of removing all the matching elements, you need a loop. There is better ways. Let's say for example I do have the list of elements like this. Okay, and set is advanced data type. I'm planning to cover set in the upcoming sessions, and I'll tell you that. Okay, now if you want the unique elements, basically what I can do is I can specify set up L1, set of L1. Okay, so now here we go. Unique element means like I'm having 10, 20, 30, 40, again 10, 20, 30, 40, 10. But my required output is 10, 20, 30, 40. This is how we can actually get the result. Okay, it is giving 40, 10, 20, and 30. If you want in the sorted order, you can actually do that. If you want this is a set. If you want it in a list, again you can actually do a casting using list, something like this you can also do. Whenever your requirement is 40, 10, 20, 30, you want in the sorted order, we can actually do that as well. That's like this. We can, I'm yet to cover the sort, so I'll just tell you. Sort if I'm doing, it is actually going to give us one moment. Sort of this. It should be in the other way. Let's say sorted of list of this. We can use sort as well, so we'll do that, because sort needs a list where it can actually store the value and then sort it. Sorted, it will reference the values. Okay, it doesn't need any extra memory or anything. Okay, on the fly it is going to return you a copy. So now here you can see it is 10, 10, 20, 30, and 40. If you want in the reverse order, guys, this is actually quite interesting, and you will go mad actually. Okay, true. Now here you can see if you are having in a real example, if you are having something like this, then you'll be thinking like, no, what's happening? How do I understand this? I'll just explain how to understand this, okay? Now, if I'm running this program, here you can see it is 40, 30, 20, 10. Now, let's say you're having something like this, okay, in your program, okay? And how do we interpret this one, okay? Print sorted of this list, then set, then what is happening here? What you need to do is, you just break it. Like, here we go, it is actually going to do a sort, okay? Now break it. Now again you are having sorted. Sorted of what? Now sorted of list one, then bracket. Now again what it is doing? Now it is actually list. List again, what is doing? List of set L1, that's fine. So I can actually do like this. So ideally it is a set of L1, then we are casting it to list, then we are actually casting it to like sorting it based on reverse equals 2 in the reverse order, then we are actually printing it. So if you break it down, you can actually able to understand it well. Okay, so this is like how many methods we are actually using: print, sorted, list, set. 4 methods in one statement itself. Okay, like one is set, or you can better like as you become confident, you should understand from the inner part itself. Like set, it is the set of L1. L1 is a list. Okay, fine. Then we are actually casting it to list, so that's fine. We are casted it. Then after casting, what we are doing? We are actually doing a sorted. So in the sorted order, what we are actually doing? We are specifying the reverse equals true, that is in the descending order. Then what we are doing is we are actually printing it. Anything as per your understanding, either break it and understand from the print, or else go to the innermost part and from there try to understand like what kind of functions or methods you are actually using, whether we are actually using casting or anything, we can actually use that. So this is all about like how do we deal with like remove, and then whenever you need like sorted, you can actually do that. Let me write the last program for today, Python file, and I'm just giving like list short reverse. Okay, short and reverse, we are going to use one list, and then or you can in one program we can actually understand what is the sorting and what is the reverse. Okay, now as I explained, I've used sorted over there. I'm just going to tell you what is sort here. Okay, now l1 dot sort I can give l1 dot sort, and then print l1, print l1. Okay, so now if I do this, let's say I'm just giving like 2 here, then 1 here, and then to understand like it should be coming in the sorted order. Now if I give here print of l1, print of L1, and print of L1 after the sorting. If you're running this program, here you can see the first program, we do have all the elements over here, and the second one, when you are actually using L1.sort, then you are actually getting like everything in the sorted order, like 1, 2, 10, 10, 20, 30, 30, 40, 40, like this. Okay, so but one key thing you should notice, whenever you are actually using L1.sort, it is actually sorting the original list. The order of these elements has been changed. The order of this element has been changed. But in case of sorted or reversed, it is not going to change the order. Okay. Let me tell you one thing. Let's say I'm having L2. I'm having L2. Okay. In L2, I have let's say here we go, or else I can give like this India, y number, always we can actually go ahead with the string as well, like US, then UK, then Australia, Australia. Okay, so now if I'm giving like no print or L2 dot reversed, L2 dot reversed, or L2 dot reverse, basically reverse is a different method. Reverse is actually we can do it on a list, so it is going to modify the list. Now here if I'm giving like no print of L2, and after using the reverse function or after invoking the reverse function, I'm just executing print of L2 again. Here you can see reverse is also going to modify the original list. Now L2 dot reverse, it is going to modify the reverse in the reverse order. Let us see like now what it is going to do. Now here you can see Australia, UK, US and India. So it is just in the order Australia, US, UK and India. You can ask me, then what is the use of slicing operator? Guys, remember, slicing operator, let's say colon colon minus 1, it doesn't reverse the list. It doesn't reverse the list. Let's say, for example, if I want to print here, print uh, L2, then colon colon minus 1, it is just printing. Even after like this, if I'm actually printing like L2, the original list will not be actually modified. It is going to print Australia, US, Australia, UK, US and India. But again, the original list will be India, US, UK and Australia. But whenever you are actually using reverse, only that point of time, it is actually going to modify the list. See here, this is the original list. We have used slicing operator, printing it, but the list remains intact. There is no change. We have used reverse, only then the list is actually completely changed. So this is how the sort and reverse is actually working in the real time. But if there are like two inbuilt methods that you can actually use it for list, tuple and everywhere, right? So that is known as list, sorted and then reversed. List, sorted and reversed. Now here we go. If you are having like this method, in case of reverse, it is actually modifying the entire list. But whenever you want just a print in the reverse order or print in the sorted order, you can actually just give sorted of this L1. It is not going to modify the list. Okay, print L1 if you do, you can actually get the original list. Sorted of L1, it is going to give the sorted order of this particular list. It's just a sorted order, it's a copy. It's not going to change anything. Similarly, we do have reversed. The print, if I'm giving a reversed of L2, right? It is going to give me the reverse order of L2, but it's not going to change anything in the L2. Let's say, for example, in the second example, India, US, UK, and Australia. Reversed, it is going to print Australia, UK, US, and India. This is just a slicing. Use slice colon colon minus 1 or use reverse of L2. That is same as like no slicing. It's not going to modify the original list. Now, if I'm running this, you can see it here. This was my original list and this is actually sorted. Okay, this is something which we need to actually do it differently. I'll just tell you like how to do that. Now here it is saying like India, US, UK and Australia. Okay, India, US and UK and Australia. Once you are actually doing a reversed, then you need to actually do a list typing. Here we go. Control set of 10. Okay, so now here you can see Australia, UK, US and India, but the original list is actually intact. Similarly, the here original list is actually intact. It's just printing. So guys, remember, whenever you are actually using sorted and reversed, and you can actually do that. Like in the previously, why did I actually use a list? Okay, why did I explicitly use the list? Just look at the output here. What it is saying here is, it is actually the reversible iterator. It's just returning an object. So object, Python, everything is object actually, okay? So it is saying list reversible iterator. We are actually getting an object. What kind of object is this? Because our original object was a list and it is actually reverse iterator object it is returning. So you need to actually cast it. Whether you need a whether you need a like a list, then it is a list reverse iterator. So we can actually definitely use a list. So try this out and you just try this out and then experience what is reverse iterator. So with this, we are done for today.